The Met Office issues a flood warning in light of the rainy weather. Prime Minister Ingram says no to drilling for oil, and the murder count pushed to 42 overnight. Those stories and more coming up in the Bahamas Tonight weekend.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
It's been raining for 2 days now throughout most of the Bahamas, and the rain is set to last a little bit longer. Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight weekend. I'm Giovanni, Stuart. Thanks as always for joining us. Officials at the Nassau Meteorological Office say more than 3 inches of rain has fallen here in the capital since yesterday. Earlier today, they issued a warning to residents and mariners to safeguard life and property against localized flooding, especially in the Northwest Islands, as up to 4 inches of rain has fallen. In fact, a resident of Farmers Hill, Exuma, Thelma Smith, telephoned ZNS News late this afternoon to report that her white Suzuki Jeep was parked in her carport when a weather system actually moved her vehicle down a slight hill, and it ended up in bushes more than 50 feet away. An unused refrigerator was also blown by winds from the carport. Luckily, no one was hurt. Back here in the capital in New Providence, Met officials say 3.31 inches of rain fell between 7 o'clock Saturday and 1 p.m. today. It's still raining and more rain is forecasted. We'll have much more with meteorologist Greg Thompson later in this newscast. The Free National Movement says there will be no drilling for oil in the Bahamas, as the Bahamas is not prepared in the way of regulation and resources to respond to a potential disaster. Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram, while in Bimini yesterday, said this is not a promise the opposition Progressive Liberal Party can easily make, as several of its key party members and candidates are tied to oil in one way or another. The Prime Minister revealed who the PLPs are at the first of 2 rallies the FNM held on Saturday. Shenique Miller reports.
Greeted by eager supporters, Prime Minister Ingram and the FNM's candidate for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe, were flanked by supporters. They motorcaded through the settlement of Bimini, leading to the rally site at Bimini Bay. Bimini has 1,182 registered voters, representing 1/5 of the entire West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency. In Bimini, the young and first-time voter make up the biggest block of registered voters. Residents say the Pakeisha factor is what pulled them in, and the promise of better for an island known as the gateway of the country.
The PLP has caused this themselves. They have been neglecting Bimini. The MP himself hadn't been around, and he haven't been seen here on the island of Bimini, only for funerals, like people say, like they're saying, and he just no interest at all. Pakeisha came in and she covered 98% of the houses here in Bimini.
One by one, young and first-time voters outlined why they support the FNM.
It was under the leadership of the Right Honorable Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram, who introduced us to cable TV. Our family members can now die with dignity as a clinic was built with a morgue. The roads were repaved. The all-age school was named by a princess of this land.
All be promises, 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 promises. Out of a $100,000 budget, he gave approximately $15,000 to Bimini in 10 years. Lies, false hopes, promises, barefaced, fun days, parties, don't buy my vote.
With the FNM, big things are going.
The first woman to contest the seat, Edgecombe promised, if elected, to be the kind of hands-on member of parliament that would always have the best interests of her supporters at the forefront of any agenda. Crediting Edgecombe with developing her sense of compassion and community work through her broadcast career, Prime Minister Ingram told voters in Bimini that he's already instructed her to begin a major project on the island.
In our next time, we will also improve your airport. We will demolish that customs warehouse on your dock and demolish that government administrators of a house, which is a blight on Bimini's landscape. They will construct for you a new government administrative complex to house all government agencies. And Pakeisha knows that I told her we want a focused program to clean up Bimini and keep Bimini clean at all times.
Prime Minister Ingram then shifted his focus to the controversial oil issue involving members of the opposition. He said not only is the leader tied to it, but also several members of his team.
Perry Christie, Brave Davis, Leslie Miller, Jerome Gomez, and their campaign coordinator, Alison Maynard Gibson, the $1 million LNG Ocean Key woman, have worked for represented the interests of the oil and gas lobby in this country. Now they want to become the next government, just in time to renew the licenses they signed in the first place.
Ingram says in 2006, the Christie-led government awarded 5 licenses to an oil company. Now, the Prime Minister explains why the F&M government placed a moratorium on granting licenses related to oil drilling and will not grant any licenses anytime soon.
We can never be unmindful of the horrendous explosion at an ocean-based oil drilling operation in the Gulf of the east coast of Louisiana just 2 years ago. Certainly, we do not have the resources, human or financial, or the capacity to respond to such a disaster as did the United States government in that instance, that until we are fully satisfied, all necessary and appropriate regulations are in place, and until we are fully and competently in a position to regulate such activity so as to protect our environment.
Shenique Miller, ZNS News.
Well, from Bimini, Prime Minister Ingram went to his hometown, Cooperstown, North Abaco, where he asked the people who have supported him for the past 35 years to put their trust in him for what he says will be his last term. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Ingram nominated in the constituency for an 8th time. Longtime resident and supporter Jackson McIntosh talked about the impact Mr. Ingram has made in Cooperstown over the years.
In 1977, when Mr. Ingram became the Member of Parliament for North Abaco, we were just a ghost town, very underdeveloped. And at that time, the Shenique Beach Resort was the only developmental center for employment in North Abaco. In times of foreign investment and other options, there was no other place in this island where the infrastructure was in place that and any type of investment could be made. Mr. Ingram came and he got rid of that over the past 35 years. Now, any investor can choose any spot on any key in Abaco, in any location in Abaco, and the infrastructure is in place for development. All of our social infrastructures have advanced under him.
For his part, the Prime Minister thanked residents and talked about how he wants to further improve the island's infrastructure.
This term, we accelerated our long-range program of expanding government services in our family islands, inclusive of locating the public treasury here in Abaco, so in the Registrar General's office and the Passport office. When it officially opens, the Abaco and the Grand Bahama Government Administrative Complexes will be the most modern government complexes anywhere in the Bahamas, including those in Nassau.
Color red is on the move.
They will all be far better than the Prime Minister's office in Nassau. All of this will help to sustain population growth, attract domestic as well as foreign direct investment. We seek also to entice new residents, including Bahamians and non-Bahamian second homeowners. Those who say such silly things about infrastructure in places like Nassau take for granted how much difference even the most basic infrastructure adds to the quality of life here in these islands.
Meantime, inclement weather canceled the Progressive Liberal Party's mass rally on Saturday in Grand Bahama. However, the PLP campaign machinery is scheduled to hold a mass rally tomorrow night at the R.M. Bailey Park here in the capital. On Tuesday, May 1st, thousands are expected to vote in the advance poll ahead of the upcoming general elections. It will be historic, as for the first time, voting will take place in a number of countries where Bahamians live, study, and work, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados. And for the first time, international observers have been invited to monitor the general elections on May 7th. Here at home in New Providence, members of the armed forces, including police and defense force officers, along with the media and parliamentary department personnel, will vote at 2 centers, the Kendall Isaacs Gym and the College of the Bahamas' Tourism Training Center on Thompson Boulevard. Advance voting will also take place on Grand Bahama and the Family Islands. Parliamentary Commissioner Errol Bethel says an estimated 7,000 people are eligible to vote on Tuesday. He highlights where Family Island voters should go to vote.
When I say the islands, like Abaco, in central Abaco, when I say Marsh Harbor, I'm talking particularly about the St. John the Baptist Anglican Church. That is where it's going to be. In North Abaco, it will be at the courthouse. In Mango Key and South Andrews, in the Kemps Bay area, it will be at the Marion Forbes Center. In Fresh Creek, it will be at the Magistrates Court. In Nicholstown, it will be at the Magistrates Court. In Central Eleuthera, Governor's Harbor, it will be at the Magistrates Court. In North Eleuthera, it will be in Upper Bogue at the Community Center there. And in the Exomas at the Magistrates Court in Georgetown.
Officials claim that the recidivism rate at the Fox Hill prison is the lowest in the world. We'll have the details after the break.